Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. A huge day of updates on the Rostermania side. Scump went on stream and addressed some of the OpTic rumours over the last few days and practically confirmed they are indeed making a change, and it may well be a Huke that is joining them from the Los Angeles Thieves based on what iLLeY is saying, but also the rumoured LAG roster and their academy team as well. Very much enjoy your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I'd greatly appreciate it. It really helps out the channel. Thanks very much indeed for doing that, and we smashed through 90k subs yesterday. Love to see it. I know full well that if every single one of you guys that's not subscribed right now subscribes, we'd hit 100k today. Not gonna happen, but you know, we could dream. Let's dive into things. So Rostermania all across the board right now. Firstly, here from Elevating the Challenger side, the team that came second. They also made the groups right at Major 1, but these guys came second in the Challenger side to the Los Angeles Guerrillas Academy. Their roster has now blown it up, surprisingly, with Dinza, Vortex, Lucky, and Journey now rounding out the team in kind of a massive mix of nations going on there. And the other guys are going to be Harry, Gizmo, Furious, and F-Dot, one of these kind of European young guns that causing a big stir. So basically they've gone their separate ways. The rumour has it that this team, this second team, might now be effectively a Ravens Academy roster with, you know, some top prospects on this team. Of course, Harry and Gizmo had their spells on London last year. So unclear if that's going to be the case or not. Furious, I believe, was the one that had the visa issues or something like that for Major 1. So we'll see what they decide to do there. But Scraps, we think, is in the starting team now for London in place of Paul X. He's down to Challengers, and they may be building another pipeline there going forwards as well. Speaking of European amateurs, we've got to mention Beans quickly, because yesterday Beans was noticed again scrimming with the Boston Academy with Kremp, Doug, Shawnee, and Beans. So, you know, just kind of putting to rest rumours of anything to do with OpTic Beans. Indeed, he is staying on the Boston Academy, and if ever he was a target for OpTic, he's certainly not anymore. And now their focus has switched elsewhere, and who could that potentially be to? We'll see in a second. Zuma practically confirmed, yeah, the OpTic Beans thing was never going to happen. As we discussed on the channel, it was a nice idea in theory. I think it could have worked for them, but as I said a couple of days ago, what they really needed to find was an SMG. Prid would have been ideal. There's only a couple of options remaining, and one of them they might well be going for, as we shall see here over the coming minutes. Now, of course, scrims started up again last night. We'll talk later today. They didn't exactly go particularly well for many teams, but I believe only about 5 or 6 teams right now actually started up again. London, for example, Nasty's got some visa things to sort out for the new year. Never, you know, good time to have these issues arise, just because, you know, over Christmas and the holiday periods, things are very slow, I'm sure, around visas anyway. So hopefully he can sort that out, because if he can't, then that's another disaster class from the London side in terms of getting visas sorted up into zero, right, back in the Cold War season. So, yeah, some teams are underway again. Arcitys was underway with Los Angeles Guerrillas. As he says, can't wait to get better today. Jacob L's trying to kind of price and roster intel from him, saying who else is getting better today, i.e. who are you actually teaming with, and Arcitys doesn't want to give anything away, but this is the roster that we are hearing from the Los Angeles Guerrillas side. And this is like, I read this, I'm like, what is actually going on within that camp, to be honest? So Arcitys is staying as, man, Arcitys from playing with the FaZe guys to potentially then playing with Scump, Shotzzy, and Pred to now playing with the Salt, Exceed, and Joe Deceives. It's, you know, pray for this man. But, you know, honestly, the Exceed, Joe Deceives thing, I don't mind at all. Bringing in those 2 SMGs from the LAG Academy, obviously that would mean minus Neptune plus Huke. I thought maybe they would keep Huke, but apparently not. They're bringing in both SMGs, maybe, from their Academy roster. And then Assault as well. Now, Assault was meant to be here, we thought, alongside maybe DiamondCon as well, when Arcitys was gone to OpTic. Now, that's obviously not happening, so now they're staying. But Assault is like, I like Assault, don't get me wrong, but he's as main AR as they come. I feel like it would make maybe more sense to bring DiamondCon in, that was arguably the best player on the Academy roster. Of course, you guys remember him from the stint with the subliners back in Cold War. Bring him in as the flex, of course, in place of Spart, and then maybe that might work better. I don't know. This probably will change and may well change over the coming days. They might try the Assault Arcitys thing, maybe even have Assault on the AR, on the main AR, Arcitys on the flex, then maybe change it around, bring DiamondCon in and see what happens. So they've got some options there, but none of their options I think are particularly good, unfortunately. I don't know that people are saying that, you know, SMG players and teams in general around the world are looking at this roster and salivating at the thought. Now, in addition to this, and this is where things get interesting, is this is their Academy roster. So, of course, DiamondCon was on the Academy, not on that starting team. He's there, Spart is there, Neptune is there as expected, but apparently Noisy in place of Huke. Now, this is the interesting part. Where has Huke got in all of this? I think right at the first days we talked about this OpTic drama, Huke was a name that was in the conversation. We thought, okay, maybe they can get Huke off Los Angeles Guerrillas, but then it seems like they were getting rid of Neptune and Huke was staying on the starting team, and then because the Arcitys thing fell through, we thought, okay, well, maybe LAG have just said, you know what, you're not having any of our guys, we're keeping Arcitys, we're keeping Huke, but maybe that's not the case at all, and probably makes a fair bit of sense, right, given the fact that Arcitys is on the 3-year deal, Huke and Neptune both were obviously going to be on their their way out if this team failed to deliver, as of course it has in the first stint of the season. So, you know, even just this kind of confirming the Joe Deceives to the starting team of LAG thing, because Bean says pro player Joe Deceives, can you get this removed? And, you know, you're an OpTic brother, you got it, says him back to Beans. But of course, we know that second part of it's not happening. Now, speaking of OpTic, Scump decided to load up the stream last night. Now, I'm sure when he does this, he knows there's going to be people in the chat asking questions, and indeed that was the case, and indeed we got some rather interesting answers. So, he was quizzed on many things, of course. Now, he was kind of talking about his Chipotle order and the fact that he likes having beans on them, but, you know, unfortunately, that's the only OpTic beans we're going to get this season, it seems. And even he was kind of talking about Christmas, and he said, you know, Hector owes me a present, something, you know, rather special indeed. And people were like, yeah, give him bread, please, but probably not going to happen. From the Seattle side, it seems, all things considered. The other question is, though, what's going on with the OpTic stuff? Are they indeed making a change? Was it all bait again? The thing is, even if OpTic don't make a change miraculously now, they can't play it off as bait, just because that tweet came out from Arcitys where he said, yeah, I wanted to join them, those three, but, you know, we couldn't make it work. There's obviously something's going on here, and Scump makes it clear that, like, he's not happy with this situation. He's maybe not happy with Dashy getting dropped. I don't know what you guys think about that, just because there's kind of been the theory that Rambo and Shotzzy are fed up of Dashy's work ethic, but Scump isn't really so bothered by it, and he's happy to maybe deal with it. And in fairness, Scump's been teaming with Dashy for a long time, right? Back in the Black Ops 4 days, when there was all that drama, and Crim said that it was basically Crim, Karma, and TP against Scump, Dashy, and TJ in terms of the work ethic stuff. Then the last couple of years, Scump's teamed with him again, and then obviously last year, then Rambo comes in, Shotzzy comes in, and now the attitude maybe there towards Dashy has changed quite dramatically and quite quickly. So Scump is clear that, like, look, he didn't want any of this drama. He would have liked an ideal world where they can just run off into the sunset with their starting team and dominate the whole year. The reality is it's not happened, but it's quite clear from what he says that, yeah, Dashy's basically gone, and they are indeed making at least one change.
For all you guys saying, what about Bruce? Dude, do you guys think that I wanted this? Do you guys not understand? It's my last year. Do you really think I want this? Come on. Jesus. You guys use your heads here a little bit. Use them a little bit. You keep saying yes. You got to be off your minds. It's my last year. I'll say one thing. It's my last year. I don't want any of this to happen. I don't want anything to happen. I wish it was a smooth year. Okay? Let me just end it with that. Guess who's not scrimming today? This guy's not scrimming today. I'll tell you that. Guys, if you think that I'm announcing the roster, you're out of your minds. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? You're out of your minds. You guys actually think it's coming for me right now? Do you think I'm doing that right now? Listen, do you guys think that I want to be dealing with this? It's supposed to be my last year. Well, it is my last year. It's my last year. You think I want to deal with this? Man, no, I don't. I don't want to deal with this shit. I wanted to ride off into the sunset happily. Like a good little boy. Wanted to just be, you know, ride off. Great last season. We had our full roster the whole season. It was awesome. Everyone else is scrimming with their full rosters.
So Scump obviously not happy with the way things have gone, but at the end of the day, it was largely Scump's decision, you could argue, in the off-season to run it back with this team. So obviously he's got to take some responsibility for the failure that has happened at Major 1 and now the subsequent change. Now, what is this change potentially going to be? We know that Dashy is seemingly gone. We'll talk about where he might go later on in the day, because that's very unclear as it stands. But who's his replacement going to be? Now, of course, as CDL Scrim Intel says, understandably based on what we saw with Los Angeles Guerrillas, what about Huke? Now, we knew that Huke, when he was dropped from the Dallas Empire in Cold War, he went to join Los Angeles Thieves. And at the time, I believe Hex even said in one of the OpTic pre-shows that he considered, like, when Huke comes on the market, you've got to consider him. I mean, this guy has been a player that I don't think the fans rate Huke very highly, but the pros have always considered Huke to be an absolute superstar from when he came back on the scene in Advanced Warfare when he was 15 years old, into the start of his career when he actually turned 18 and could compete when the official age restriction came into effect, basically. He came back in World War II, had some mixed success, but of course then went on to win the World Championship in Modern Warfare with the Dallas Empire, and also had a great season during Black Ops 4, at least statistically. So, you know, look, Huke has been a big topic of conversation the last year or so, and people are going to say, look, Huke's washed, this guy, he's done for, the best days of his career are over. But, look, at the same time, and the reason why I had that Priester clip at the start is just to show that, like, look, just because Priester had a bad couple of years on the rosters he's been on, doesn't mean that when he's put in a good system, he can't once again look like, I mean, mean, look, he basically had an MVP level performance at Major 1. Priester was out of control, so revitalized massively. Put Huke potentially back with teammates that he's comfortable with and can succeed with, and also a coaching staff that he's familiar with, and maybe you can once again see a turnaround for Huke. And at the same time, Huke always, every single year, delivers some good performance. Like, I think we saw last year, right, in Vanguard, he was an absolute monster at Stage 2 in the Grand Finals up against FaZe. The year before, during the Dallas Empire days, with initially this trio known as Zeo. We'll discuss that more here in a second, but he was MVP level player, best player in the game in Stage 1 in Cold War. But then, and this is the concern to many, I think, if you're OpTic fans, is that, well, if you do bring Huke in, the reason why he was dropped from Cold War's Dallas Empire was, as CleanX explains, like, basically what he said was, look at the minimap, right? And this echoes very similar to what Rambo had to say about the OpTic team at Major 1, saying they were making left stick mistakes, i.e. making wrong decisions, like brain not aim type stuff. And Huke hasn't necessarily been the most brain not aim player, right? I mean, this guy does go rogue a bit, run around maybe a bit too much, doesn't necessarily make the best decisions on the map, and that's why he's maybe been dropped from teams in the past. So bringing a player like that into the OpTic team, where that's already an issue, might not be the best idea in the world. At the same time, though, you do reunite this trio. Now, these guys were known as Zeo. Zeo basically means ice, I think, in Icelandic, and iLLeY thought it was a cool word, so they went for it, right? This trio that was the case in the Dallas Empire days during Modern Warfare, when, of course, they won the World Championship with CleanX and Clayster. That was the trio. They went into Cold War looking very good indeed. They came second at the first major. Huke was looking like an MVP. So, I mean, look, Huke's had a difficult couple of years. If he was to reunite with these guys under OpTic, I think it would make a fair bit of sense. You can then put Scump on an AR role, which I do think is necessary at the moment. Scump is still a great player and still has got what it takes, but I do think at this point in his career, in his final year, he is better suited to either a flex or a main AR position. But if this was to be the OpTic team plus Scump, it's rather different to the Dallas Empire team of 2020 when you've got Scump now as your kind of AR player, because at the time it was, of course, Huke and Shotzzy as the SMGs, then iLLeY was basically another SMG or in the flex role, and then they had Clay and Crim both kind of playing the ARs. Now, if they've got these three plus Scump, what are their roles? Because obviously it would be Shotzzy and Huke, I guess, as the SMGs. First of all, it's Rambo coaching as well that these guys were with back in the Dallas Empire days. It makes sense for a number of different reasons. I don't know, you know, I've given a few pros and cons of getting Huke. I know that people might not like him, and I know that people might think, you know what, getting a seam is a more sensible option here. But you would understand that OpTic would at least be considering a move like this right now. But also, where does Scump fit in? Does he become the main AR, right? Does he take up the Crim or the Clayster role, right? And iLLeY runs the flex. And you might think that's ridiculous, but at the same time, that's basically what Attach has been doing for the last couple of years. We know that Attach, right, was a very similar to Scump player a couple of years ago, slaying SMG, but probably a bit too slow for the modern game. So he, you know, transitioned into a flex, and then really right now on Minnesota, Attach is basically the main AR. And we could imagine Scump could step into a similar role if iLLeY wants to be on the flex, or they do it the other way around. So if that was to be the team, many questions. Obviously, we'd discuss more on it in the coming days if it was to come to fruition. But iLLeY also has practically indicated it. He tweets out this gif here with Zeo. So, you know, obviously very coincidental timing with everyone talking OpTic Huke, and then iLLeY tweets this out, implying that it may well be the case. So if you guys are OpTic fans, what do you think of this potential? As I say, Huke, every year, most of his years of competing, has had at least one crazy performance and event. Whether he can recapture some of that magic for longer periods, playing with guys that he's played with before, Shotzzy, iLLeY, and bringing Scump into the mix as well. I think OpTic Huke has been discussed on and off every year or every couple of years for the last like 7 or 8 years, ever since Advanced Warfare, really in like 2014, 2015. So for it to finally happen now would be pretty crazy, but arguably when Huke is far past his best, which is of course going to be the concern of many. And even just looking at this, right, this was the Dallas Empire team from that season where, you know, this trio was rather successful indeed. So very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. One quick thing to mention is Ronnie talking about the fact that if what he heard is true, don't be expecting OpTic Huke. So just because there's some rumors towards this doesn't mean it's going to happen. There could be other consequences. My understanding is that if he has been dropped from Los Angeles Guerrillas, there are some questions there for Huke as to whether he actually continues to play Call of Duty at a professional level, but we'll see what happens. If he gets the OpTic offer, surely you can't really turn that down. But very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.